Once again, another video today on Chris, and this is another one of the reasons why I was really eager for him to finally upload the death battle debunking video, because he loves to attempt to debunk this. Like, keep in mind, this is my first time ever watching him and debunking these videos. This is my live reaction to him in this technical sense. So live reaction to him attempt to debunk death battle. Whoa boy. Now here's the reason I really wanted to get to like the nitty gritty of this. Now, I don't know if you guys watch this channel or not. If you do, then welcome over here for some weird reason. But if you guys want to see my side of all of this, go ahead as I proceed to debunk his little One Punch Man fanboy headcanons. And today, if you see here, if you watch this channel right here, it's a 1 hour and 29 minutes and 12 seconds him trying to cope and seethe with Death Battle saying that Popeye drops his gag character Slong onto Saitama. And he's going to try his best to convince us, the audience, that Saitama wins. So let's try our best to get this started.
Alright, like I promised, the debunk of Death Battle's Saitama versus Popeye fight. Let's get this started.
You could say that fight was over easy. Wait, except isn't Saitama's whole gag that he can't lose?
It is, but it's more nuanced than that. Despite breaking his limiter, Saitama's strength isn't limitless. He's said so himself.
Breaking his limiter meant his potential strength was likely infinite, but there's nothing left in his world powerful enough to push him to get stronger, like a bodybuilder stuck with 5-pound dumbbells.
He also doesn't possess some magical ability to kill someone in one punch regardless of effort. Powerful adversaries like Boros and Garo have survived his blows repeatedly, albeit briefly, and he's never met anyone quite like Popeye the Sailor Man.
According to the mangaka, One Punch Man's gag is that Saitama is an anime protagonist at the end of his series, slapped in at the beginning of his series, where he's too strong to have a challenge.
So, if we know Saitama's strength does have a limit...
Alright, let's get this started. Because if you don't go out of your way to really do the proper research and force yourself to understand the logic of a work of fiction, you're going to get the context wrong.
I like how it says force you to understand, aka if you don't believe in my headcanon, you're wrong and you're stupid and you're dumb.
First of all, it don't matter who you bring in to fight Saitama. He's not going to grow in power anymore. The creator already put him at the max.
Okay, keep this in mind. He said Saitama's at the max, and we already know what max power by definition means. If the author has said max power, if Saitama says he's at the maximum power that he can be, where in the hell does Chris get infinite power from? I will never know, because not once in the entire manga does it ever say that Saitama's infinite power. But headcanon galore comes out in the next few minutes, I'm pretty sure.
This conversation that he has with King,
where he says that he's at his peak.
Because of this.
Yeah, he has peak, right?
You get your ideas. One, to start with, I simply tried to draw. 1 second. The sort of manga I want to read myself. I read loads of shonen manga throughout my life, and I'm particularly fond of battle manga. Generally speaking, those types of stories are all about growth. You hear what he said? Those types of stories are all about growth.
Exactly.
Meaning that by the last chapter, the main character has grown stronger than anyone else and lives happily ever after. So I wonder what would happen if I started the story off with the main character already in peak condition.
Peak condition.
Still don't understand? Alright, let's go to the next.
What am I missing here?
Piece of information. How did you come up with that character, Saitama, anyway? He elaborated even further with this, in case you didn't understand the first one. Well, I wanted to differentiate the character from pre-existing characters, mind you. I do love traditional shonen manga and have read a lot of it, but I thought it might be interesting if the first chapter is like the final chapter. How the protagonist be extremely strong from the very start. Be at the maximum power level, which could only be attained in the final chapter of you.
The maximum power.
That was what flashed across to me after having finished drawing the first chapter. With the first chapter, what I only had in mind were a string of words, One Punch Man, and a vision of a character defeating his opponent in one punch. fact that they sit here and say that this is his gag, oh, being an in-game character is his gag, being an in-game character is not his gag, but I'm not going to get into it.
What is his gag then? Okay, so it's funny how both Death Battle and Chris use the same exact source of information to get their point. But for some reason, Chris comes out the cut and says, no. Death Battle is a bunch of big, stupid, dummy, poopy heads, dude. They're the retards in this situation. So he's trying to imply that Death Battle got the whole argument of Saitama being an in-game gag character. He's not a gag character, but like his whole joke behind his character is that he's what happened if a shonen protagonist were to get the strongest power he was and start from the beginning over again. And that's what happened to him, right? The big issue that everyone's already noticing is, probably asking watching this video, how the hell did Chris even get to this conclusion? There's nothing in the entire comic. The author says nothing about Saitama having infinite power at all. And all the author is saying Saitama's at peak condition and the maximum power he can be. Both terms mean that you have reached a limit to how strong you become, but you're just extremely powerful, right? Big fish in small pond. Remember this, right? Big fish in small pond. Meaning, if you're the biggest fucking fish in the pond, you obviously have a lot of prey around you that you can easily go ahead and eat, and nothing can hold a candle to you unless you're dropped to an ocean full of bigger fish. So, in Saitama's case, there is nothing whatsoever that actually ever implies that Saitama's infinite power. The entire comic never implies this whatsoever. All Chris does is use a headcanon. This is so debunkable because due to the fact that, for example, right, Saitama's fighting... Remember how in Death Battle they mentioned that Saitama, of course, can hit people with one tap on majority of occasions with a normal punch, but there's more stronger guys like Boros, Garu, and Orochi can tank one punch. The moment they do take one punch and immediately go right after this, they're already showing they can tank a normal punch above the other guys who are the fodder city busters in the series. What I'm saying is, Boros, Garu, and Orochi obviously have reached a level that Saitama considers strong enough to be a considerable fighter. If Saitama is an infinite power, omnipotent, limitless god tier being, as Chris implies, this would imply that this always makes you question why the hell is Boros, or Garu, and Orochi making Saitama even question his power. It's kind of dumb for him to even try to walk up and be like, no. He was holding back. He just so happened to be holding back every single time he fought these guys in particular, but everybody else he was just being casual with. Like, there's a reason why Saitama calls it serious punch, bro, but alright.
With that right now, I'm disproving the fact that this conversation right here, and the fact that they say there's nobody strong enough to push him, my dude, y'all didn't really understand that. This show isn't about growth. For Saitama, he's already become stronger than everybody else.
That's what they literally just
he's
said.
Already at the maximum power level, which could only be attained in the final chapter of usual manga. But the thing about that is, being at the maximum power level in the final chapter of a shonen manga, that literally doesn't tell you whether that character has a finite level of power or they have achieved an infinite amount of power.
Chris, there's nothing that needs to be said. If it just literally just says you reach a maximum amount of power, there is no reason for you to try to slap on the infinite or finite answer. In the majority of circumstances, if we're using common sense here, right? Let's use common sense here, guys. When one is referring to the fact of the average shonen anime series in which the main protagonist gets the in-game power, 99.9% of the time, the character doesn't reach some... Oh yes, I have reached omnipotence. I have reached infinite power. When characters reach in-game ability, it's implying they've reached the strongest level they possibly can achieve in said world, and no one can hold a candle to them. If Naruto were to go back to the beginning of his series, all the way up to like beginning with 6 paths and bullshit implied to him, yeah, would you go around saying, I don't know, man, what if Naruto's like infinite or some weird, like... What he's saying is just because they don't ever explicitly tell you the answer whether or not it's infinite or finite means it must be infinite. Where did you get infinite from? Chris has never answered once in his entire videos where the fuck he got infinite from. All we've gotten is by the author and Saitama himself and a bunch of other characters. Saitama's just mad dummy strong. Nothing ever implies Saitama's infinite. He's just an overpowered character who's slapped in the beginning of the story. There's nothing the author ever says Saitama has infinite power and can slap people. Right? If Saitama, and that, even further prove my point, if Chris would actually read his own, if he's a fan of One Punch Man, I'm a fan of One Punch Man as well. I like the manga, but I don't like when I debated him. He kept saying, see, if you was a real fan, you watch the series, you know that, bro. I don't even watch One Punch Man as much, but it's simple common sense to tell you that if in the beginning of the series, when Saitama's like telling Boros, like, no, Boros is legitimately a powerful threat, if the author's saying Boros is legitimately a powerful threat, then why are you wanking Saitama to be this infinite omni-god being? But I'm pretty sure if me and him ever debate this ever again, he's going to end up looking really, really stupid. But you know, nonetheless, let's continue watching this video.
The fact that they're sitting here saying that, oh, there's nobody strong enough to push Saitama to get stronger, you're already ignoring what type of show One Punch Man is. This isn't about growth for Saitama. It doesn't matter who comes into the fray. It doesn't matter how strong the opponent is. The creator already put him at the maximum power level. And simply going off of this and this literally does not tell you how strong Saitama is.
So, Chris, what this means is you don't romp and make assumptions about X character, right? Like I said in my last previous videos where he says, well, we don't know Saitama's full power, so we can't judge him right off the bat. I don't give a damn, bro. I really don't. There's so many characters in fiction who have never showed us their full power that we don't need to wink for no reason. You're the only person who looked at a character and said, hey, I know he's a feetless fodder piece of trash character, but I'm going to stroke him just enough to make him Omni. Right? Like, if you guys don't believe, there's literally a video out there that someone did on this guy, just like I usually do on him, where say he took a screenshot and showed him saying Saitama could beat 9 Omnis. I'm not sure what rock he woke up that morning and started smoking to do this, but golly, is it toxic. So then what proceeded to happen was, let's just imply this, right, with Chris, you guys make his dates. Let's say this. If Yujiro Hanma, like I said on my previous videos, just because we don't know how Yujiro Hanma is and Baki Grappler does not mean that Yujiro Hanma should go around slapping Omnis. What we do is we take the information we know about the character and we go ahead and work what we got. You can use feats, statements, scaling, calcs. You can use what the hell you want. But you do not use assumptions in a versus debate, Chris. That's stupid. I can do that with any character. I can say Grand Priest from Dragon Ball Z. I can say the Grand Priest from Dragon Ball is a 9 Omni because he's under Zeno, and I can wank Zeno and say, due to power scaling, Zeno is a omnipotent being because the name is Omni, and if you go on Google and look what Omni, like, if I were to do a Chris Powell movement, do a bunch of weird mental gymnastics in order to push my point, I can do the same exact thing. So I don't know what he's talking about. All this is just a bunch of weird wanking on his end of Saitama and taking stuff the author says out of context when all the authors legitimately is telling you, no, Chris, you're stupid. It's max power, as strong as he can get. There's nothing that ever implies infinite.
It does not tell you how strong he is. All it tells you is that he put Saitama in peak condition. And all this tells you is he put him at the maximum power level, which could only be attained in the final chapter of usual manga. And if you're a heavy manga reader and you like to keep up with these works of fiction, the fighting genre, that the maximum power level in the final chapter can literally range from anything. It can range from a finite level of power to an infinite amount of power. So this right here does not tell you how strong he is. The fact that
So why'd you assume the best for Saitama? Why'd you just assume, well, even though the author never told us finite or infinite, I'm just gonna wank Saitama assume infinity. Like, why? Why would you, if you're trying to be an honest roast debater and you use common sense, there's nothing in the entire series that implies Saitama's infinite, and there's nothing, even like, at first when I debated him, I took him as a normal Sayatard. But Now he's one of those Saitars that imply to have feats, but a lot of them contradict themselves. They have a lot of things that are quote unquote like evidence for proving Saitama's power, but all they do is debunk themselves. Like you said, if you ever listen to someone talk for so long, they end debunking themselves. As he proceeds to show screenshots of the author saying Saitama has a limit pretty much, and then he makes some weird argument saying, well, in the end of the series, we never are told how strong the characters usually are because it can be infinite or finite. No, what happens is we take end of series characters and we work with what we're shown. We don't work with wank, 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 and then hope characters are godly omni beings. For example, imagine if we were to apply this argument to another fellow bald person. Imagine if Aang from Avatar Last Airbender, imagine if end of series Aang was wanked up to be by this logic. Let's just say Omni Aang because he's the end of the series. And since we don't know, it's never explained how strong Aang is, we can just assume Aang's Omni because he's the end of the series. You see how stupid this is? There's no reason for you to just assume Saitama's an infinite, omnipotent god being. It's stupid. It's just a big fish in a small pond. Please stop wanking Saitama, please.
Said, oh, Saitama doesn't have anybody to push him to further grow. You're already overriding what you read here. There is no more growth for Saitama. He's at the maximum power level.
Yeah.
There is no more growth. Before I continue, let's see if I miss anything in this part real quick. Hold on. Let's read this to y'all.
Please don't. I can read just fine.
To gain, he's already maxed out because the creator put him at the maximum. So even if you bring in somebody that quote unquote you think that will be able to give him a challenge, he's not going to level up anymore. He's already at the maximum. There's no more leveling up.
So you see what Chris says here. He says Saitama cannot grow any stronger. He's at the maximum power. Now, you may be thinking, Devin, is this man smoking big rocks? Because didn't he just say Saitama power can go on to infinity? Whoa there, my small child. Please listen to me, because even I was also kind of having a fucking aneurysm when he said that. So Chris, like I said, he has to do a lot of Google gymnastics in order to get around this argument, right? When you explain to him, when the author says you're at the maximum power you cannot grow any stronger, then he then says, no, because there's other situations where the characters can be omnis. And it's like, okay, but do you have any proof that Saitama could be and he's like, no, Saitama's not an omni, he's just extremely infinitely strong. And you ask him the next question of, okay, if Saitama's infinitely strong, where do you put him on the versus wiki tiering system? He says, I don't know. And then Chris has to sit there and ponder his orb for about fucking an hour or so, like he does in his video, and gives you a bunch of just dodges every single possible basic question, which is why you don't go around trying to false claim a character's power when you literally are the same person saying death battle. Don't put a marker down how strong Saitama is just yet you don't know how strong he is. And you explain to him, well, dumbass, that's why in verse debates you use what we're shown, not assume. We just can't go around saying in-game Goku at the current moment, who is still increasingly getting stronger and stronger, and showing that he's growing more and more throughout the series, is already showing he kind of drops his meaty Saiyan slong on fucking Saitama. Meanwhile, Saitama, who is saying that he's at max power, is not even fighting anyone who's even touching that level of power, not touching the universal characters, not touching anybody who's threatening galaxies. And even if he does get to that point, this is in-game Saitama, who thinks that characters like that is fodder. If he thinks Starbusters are pretty strong, then Jesus Christ, and what are you talking about here, Chris? You need to stop trying to wank your boy.
You don't know if that maximum is a finite level of power or an infinite level of power. In order to prove that, I need to provide the rest of the information for you.
Show me, please.
To further prove my point, but isn't it great to be so strong, especially since you're a hero king? I'll reach my limit so I don't get to enjoy growing anymore.
I'll reach my
He's
limits.
reached his limit.
Yeah.
The creator just straight up put him at his max.
Yeah, his limit. You just said Saitama has no limits, bro.
That's why he's reached his limit for growth, because the creator straight up put him at his max.
Yes.
So no matter how hard he tries, he's already at the maximum power level he's going to ever have. You don't know if that's a finite level of power or if that's an infinite amount. He even goes on to say...
So, once again, why would you assume it's infinite? Why do we have to wank Saitama, make him an Omni character?
About your favorite video game, when you max out a character, there's nothing left to do.
Yeah. So in a video game, my favorite character isn't walking around soloing verses.
The creator maxed him out. Simply fighting off against a stronger opponent, whoever y'all want to bring in, that's not going to magically make him stronger because he's already at the maximum. Creator already said has grown stronger than anyone else. I no longer struggle in battles or have...
Wait, so is he trying to imply that if Saitama were to walk into, like, any other verse, right? Let's say Saitama were to walk into the fucking Marvel verse, right? And let's say he runs to Odin and call Odin a bitch-ass fucking pussy. And let's use Chris's logic. Is he implying that just because the author says, well, Saitama's just a maxed-out character who just runs around and punches people, right? Chris's wank argument is now, well... Saitama's just built different, and he can just walk around here with verses, and no matter what happens, he's above that character. You know how stupid that is? Okay, so let me break this one down, because this one's going to come off is just really autistic if you guys aren't quite keeping up with this one. So what he's trying to imply is another argument that a lot of One Punch Man fans love to do, and in versus debating, this never ever is supposed to happen, because if you use this argument, you look like a fucking child. So this argument is basically implying that the author walks into the versus debate with the character and helps the character out. Basically, he's saying Saitama's victory is already written into the future. And it's stupid because in every other versus debate, that's why this makes no sense. In every other versus debate, the author does not write the victory for X character. Because like I said, with the Yujiro argument, if Yujiro were to walk up to Naruto, right, and walk into his verse... And if Yujiro were to walk into Naruto verse as strong as he is, does that imply that Yujiro is now able to fuck up the Naruto verse because it's his written character to fuck up verses like this? No one can narratively stop him. That's why narrative implication is not a thing in versus debates. That's why you don't have the author of One Punch Man write in the victory for Saitama, because Saitama was actually a weak-ass fodder character that all of his fans love to wank. At least with other fandoms, they can give you on-screen feats and proof the characters are that strong. We don't need to use 1 hour and 26-minute long videos to prove how strong my favorite character is with my body pillow right behind me. That makes no sense, Chris. You're coming off like a little bit of a tard in this one. But we hopefully hope... I really just want to get another chance to debate him one more with the character I told him I want to use. And if he's ballsy enough to actually go through with it, I'm really shocked he's going to build more content on his channel for this, because at the moment, him and I are going back and forth about this funny little, shenanigans that he is doing with Saitama.
Of any rivals, no matter how many monsters I could be, I'm just bored. Dude. So this conversation right here, it's basically the creator way of saying, hey, I meant what I said. I put this bad boy at the maximum. This story ain't about growth for Saitama, my boys. I don't want One Punch Man to be about that, the main character. Just put him at the maximum. But this doesn't tell you how strong he is. So do not listen to them when hold on. Let's hear them quote it again.
You could say that fight was over easy. Wait, except isn't Saitama's whole gag that he can't lose?
It is, but it's more nuanced than that. Despite breaking his limiter, Saitama's strength isn't limitless.
This is what I hate when people do versus battles like this, because if you don't properly do the research, which we all know Death Battle is known for screwing up on their research, you're not going to understand the proper context here.
There's no extra context, Chris. You just got... Death Battle did a pretty basic open and shut case on Saitama. They just told you Saitama is now a limitless omni god being. You need to stop wanking him. Please go home. Literally, this is what the argument boiled down to, right? Death Battle just told you Saitama's power is obviously has a limit, and it's not infinite as all the fanboys try to imply. Chris does this weird made-up thing where he says that, well, characters at the end of the series could be infinite, could be finite or infinite. The infinite argument makes no sense because here's the thing. Nothing in the entire series ever argues that he is infinite. And as Chris says, Death Battle doesn't know how strong the Saitama is, so we need to stop wanking him, or it needs to stop lowballing him, apparently, right? But Chris is understand that from his position is just as bad. You can't go around saying X character is infinitely strong because we don't know how strong he is. Both sides would be at a standstill. That's why in a versus debate you use what you're shown, not assume. It's just really dumb that I can't believe someone's actually going out of their way to do this.
You're not going to understand the context. And I don't think that I can get any stronger than I am now. If you don't understand the proper context, you're going to take that as face value.
So what extra context did you provide for us the whole screen? Like, all the screenshots you did was literally this, right? Your screenshots was literally one saying 2 times, I put Saitama at the peak condition at the end of the series. There's nothing in the entire argument that ever said anything but infinite power. There's nothing. The only person who brought anything but infinite power was you, Chris. Where do you get this from? The author never said infinite power. All he said was maximum and peak condition. There's nothing else in the entire thing that ever said anything about omnipotent God Saitama. You need to go and hug your Saitama body pillow because it's getting really out of pocket now.
You're not going to know the reason why he can't get any stronger. Especially if you only read the manga and you don't read the interviews. Let's be real. A lot of people don't read these interviews.
And they did, and they debunked you.
As, he automatically has a limit to his power. That's not the case. But
what did you do in order to prove that he does not have... Like, what did you do in order to prove that he doesn't have a limit to his power? Other than the fact always says he broke his limiter, and now he became extremely strong, became a superhuman. Boom, that's all it is. There's no further reason for you to start wanking Saitama having infinite power. It's just a bunch of weird Sayatard headcanon.
Let's continue.
He's said so himself. Breaking his limiter meant his potential strength was likely infinite, but there's nothing left in his world powerful enough to push him to get stronger.
What did they mess up on?
Ignoring what the creator said.
What did they ignore? The author and One Punch in the Death Battle group just said that, hey, Saitama has reached his maximum, and Saitama said that there's nothing in his world that can make him any stronger. What is he ignoring?
Look, dialogue from what he said in the interview, but yet you didn't completely understand it.
What more is there to complete?
That he said there's nothing strong enough, nobody's strong enough to push him. Dude, it don't matter who came into the fray. You're not going to be able to push Saitama to get stronger because he's already at the maximum.
Yes, you can. There are so many characters I can throw at Saitama that kind of drop their fucking fictional slongs on him, but I don't get what Chris is trying to do here, because all he is doing, he's trying to do the argument of the author needs to walk into the fight with Saitama and write the victory for Saitama. In a versus debate, we don't put the writer in there. All he did was ask the question, hey, what made you want to write Saitama as a character like this? And all he did was just say, well, here's Saitama's character, boom, 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 nothing deeper than that. All he said was Saitama is an extremely powerful character who's basically a protagonist at the end state of the beginning of the series. So the obvious thing that obviously maybe, in your head right now is, where is Chris getting this argument of that Saitama can walk into all fights and be stronger to beat everybody? Because that's just a no-limits fallacy. It's a no-limits fallacy, and it's a rule that doesn't exist in versus battles. It's a rule that's pretty much going out the window, according to him, because he's implying that the author should write the victory for the character. That's like if we were to have some other comic books have like situations where 2 series were to cross over and 2 heroes fight each other and to figure out who would win. One author, one character would write that victory for that character. That's pretty much what they're doing, right? If, for example, Shazam versus Superman, right, that were to happen. If that happens in DC Comics, the author writes Superman's victory or Shazam's victory in a certain way because they write that character, so that's what happens, right? In the verse debate, we exclude the author's existence in the entire debate, and we move along, and we make it an evenly fought death battle. We don't make it Saitama in 1 versus anybody in existence, because that means 1 is writing the fight. 1 does not write the fights. It's a one-on-one fight between 2 fictional characters. There's no reason for me to bring Akira Toriyama to write a Goku's victory against Superman. That's stupid.
Okay, now before I get on to showing y'all
Oh, sweet Jesus, he brought out Google.
actual information telling you how strong Saitama is, we're going to go over what maximum means.
He's going to tell us a word we already know.
We're not just going to look at one dictionary, we're going to look at multiple dictionaries on what maximum means.
See, now here's the issue already. I might end this video right here because goddamn, it's like, what are we getting at? 30 minutes in, and it's way too goddamn long for all this. But TLDR, what Chris is going to do, he's going to do this thing in versus debates where he brings in 50 fucking tabs of a word open, and he hopes that the person listening does not understand that when you open up so many tabs, Chris has to do so much shit just to make sure you know that it could mean exactly what it doesn't mean, right? Because he needs to get multiple definitions out just so it just may just be perfect, right? Like we all know what maximum means. It means the highest possible level, like the highest possible level. Google says as great higher, let's see, intense as possible is permitted. As permitted, meaning there's a limit on it. So pretty much Saitama is just at the limit. He can't grow any stronger. As Saitama said, I don't know where the fuck he got infinite from, but let's find out.
In case y'all don't completely understand. Maximum. Adjective. As great, high, or intense as possible or permitted. Noun. The greatest or highest amount possible or attained.
Now, knows what he did. Okay, so previously I did a video talking about when he goes on Google, he does this weird thing. He says people are cherry picking, right? Notice how he excluded the permitted, the word permitted meaning limit. And permitted means there's nothing else you can possibly do about this. So Chris does the same exact thing people do to him, where they will go over words that don't really matter at the end of the day. Like, even if Chris were to like exclude permit, I'm not mad about it. But I just wanted to point that out because it's a little bit hypocritical for him to do that and go beyond the words and just kind of exclude their meanings.
Adjective. As great, high, or intense as possible or permitted. Noun. The greatest or highest amount possible or attained. Let's go on to the next dictionary. Dictionary.com. Maximum. Noun, plural. The greatest quantity or amount possible.
Jesus
Maximum.
Christ.
The greatest quantity or value attainable or attained. Depending on which dictionary, noun, and an adjective. Maximum takes it to the max. It means the most, the fastest, the biggest. You might be familiar with the shortened version of the word max. If you take something to the max, you're doing as much of it as possible. You take
as possible, meaning there is in fact a point in which someone does in fact reach a limit. Now, the question being, where you may be wondering is, where is Chris getting the infinite thing from? Once again, he's doing that weird thing where it's like, if I go to Google right here, like, fucking hell. So I'm not going to do the whole 1 hour fucking debunk. I might just say, fuck it, Chris, 1v1 me in a debate again. I'll drop Gold Experience Requiem's golden schlong on you. Just go ahead and debate you once again. If he doesn't want to, it's all up to him. But I'm just saying, like, hey, man, it's really fun doing this. And honestly, I just want to see where does he get this weird One Punch Man wank from. And I want you guys, if you guys are on the book, the little group chat we are in, on the Facebook group to debating, you can tag him and say, hey, Chris, go on ahead, debate Dev. He wants to do this one more time on Discord and actually debate you one-on-one, Gold Experience Requiem versus Saitama. And it will be, content for him and I to get this off. So, of course, I'm more than willing to, of course, go ahead and do that. If he doesn't, then it's cool. If you guys want to do that, or to do that, let him know, of course. But, yeah, I'm not going to do the whole 1 hour long debunking on this, because Jesus Christ, this is 1 hour of him doing a bunch of Google definitions and getting mad that Saitama got his bald head dropped on by Popeye, a guy who tainted universe and reality itself being erased. But, he wants the author to come and help Saitama. So, yeah, thanks you guys for watching. If you did stick around and watch this whole thing for some weird reason, or you just listen to it in the background, it's cool too. And, yeah, thank you all. See ya.